What happens when your entire business empire crumbles before it even launches? When you can't even legally own the name of your own brand? Meghan Markle thought she had it all figured out. A lifestyle empire built on royal prestige, celebrity, connections, and that carefully curated image of sustainable luxury. But behind the glossy Instagram posts and soft-focus marketing photos, a disaster was brewing that would expose the hollow foundation of her entire strategy. The first red flag should have been obvious. You can't build a business without actually securing the legal right to use its name. But somehow, in all the excitement of planning photo shoots and designing packaging, someone forgot to do the most basic homework. And that oversight would trigger a chain reaction that destroyed not just one brand, but exposed a pattern of borrowed credibility that was always destined to collapse. American Riviera Orchard was supposed to be Meghan's triumphant return to business. The name itself was calculated to evoke luxury, exclusivity, and that California lifestyle everyone supposedly craves. Marketing materials painted a picture of artisanal jams, sustainable home goods, and lifestyle products that screamed, "I have arrived." The website teased premium offerings, the Instagram account gathered followers, and industry insiders whispered about the potential for a lifestyle empire to rival Goop. But there was one massive problem. The name was never actually hers to use. While her team was busy crafting brand narratives and planning product launches, they apparently skipped the crucial step of securing trademark rights. The US Patent and Trademark Office wasn't impressed with the application, and when they finally responded, it wasn't with congratulations. The rejection was brutal and public. Patent officials didn't just deny the trademark, they called out fundamental problems with the application itself. The name was deemed too similar to existing brands, the product categories were unclear, and the whole thing reeked of celebrity vanity project rather than legitimate business venture. For someone who built her image on being detail-oriented and business-savvy, it was a humiliating amateur mistake. When government bureaucrats start dunking on your business model, you know you're in trouble. The patent office didn't just say no, they essentially explained why the entire concept was flawed from the ground up. The rejection letter might as well have been titled, "How Not to Start a Business 101. The officials pointed out that American Riviera was already associated with specific geographic regions and existing businesses. They questioned whether Meghan's team had done any research at all before filing. The product categories listed in the application were so broad and vague that they seemed designed to monopolize entire market segments rather than represent actual planned products. But the real kicker was the timing. By the time the rejection became public, Meghan had already been promoting the brand for months. Influencers had received packages, media outlets had written preview articles, and thousands of followers were waiting for the official launch. The patent office had effectively pulled the rug out from under a marketing campaign that was already in full swing. Industry experts started weighing in, and their assessment was damning. This wasn't just a paperwork delay or bureaucratic hiccup. This was evidence of fundamental business incompetence. Any legitimate entrepreneur would have secured trademark rights before spending a dime on marketing. The fact that Team Meghan had gotten so far down the road without this basic protection suggested either stunning naivety or dangerous arrogance. The patent office rejection was just the beginning. Once word got out that Meghan's trademark was vulnerable, corporate lawyers started circling like sharks. Major companies that had been quietly watching the situation suddenly decided to make their objections official. Harry and David, the premium food company, filed a formal protest claiming that American Riviera Orchard was too similar to their long-established Royal Riviera brand. Their legal team argued that the similarity could cause consumer confusion, especially in the gourmet food space where both brands were planning to operate. And they had a point. Both names evoked luxury, exclusivity, and premium positioning in similar market segments, but Harry and David wasn't alone. Other companies started emerging from the woodwork, each with their own claims about name similarities and market conflicts. What had started as a simple trademark application had turned into a legal battlefield. With Meghan's team suddenly fighting multiple fronts against established businesses with deep pockets and experienced legal departments, the irony was thick. Meghan had positioned herself as a champion of small businesses and ethical entrepreneurship, but now she was being portrayed as a celebrity trying to muscle her way into established markets. The companies filing protests weren't faceless corporations. They were often family-owned businesses that had been building their brands for decades. David versus Goliath, except this time the celebrity was Goliath. Each new legal challenge generated fresh headlines, and none of them were flattering. Business journalists started digging deeper into the trademark mess, uncovering a pattern of hasty decisions and poor planning that extended far beyond just the name issue. Faced with mounting legal challenges and a trademark application that was clearly going nowhere, Meghan's team made a desperate pivot. American Riviera Orchard was quietly shelved, and suddenly there was a new name in play. As ever, the rebrand was positioned as a strategic evolution, but everyone could see it for what it really was: damage control. As ever was supposed to sound timeless, elegant, and personal. Marketing materials emphasized continuity and authenticity, as if the name change had been planned all along rather than forced by legal necessity. But the new name created its own problems almost immediately. As ever wasn't some brilliant creative breakthrough, it was a hasty replacement chosen under pressure. And it showed. The branding felt generic, the messaging was unclear, and the whole thing lacked the specific identity that the original name had tried to establish. Worse, the rebrand meant starting over from scratch in many ways. All the early marketing investment in American Riviera Orchard was essentially wasted. The Instagram account had to be updated, packaging had to be redesigned, and any existing brand partnerships had to be renegotiated around the new identity. Industry insiders weren't buying the spin about strategic evolution. Marketing experts publicly questioned why a brand would abandon its name so early in the process unless there were serious legal problems. The rebrand looked exactly like what it was: a desperate attempt to salvage a project that had been derailed by poor planning. Just when it seemed like the trademark troubles were behind her, Meghan walked straight into another naming controversy. The problem with As Ever wasn't just that it felt generic. It was that someone else was already using it. A small New York-based clothing brand had been operating under the As Ever name for years, building their own customer base and brand identity in the fashion space. When news broke that Meghan was adopting the same name for her lifestyle brand, the fashion company's owners were not happy. The clothing brand's founders went public with their concerns, pointing out that they had been using As Ever long before. Meghan's team had even thought of it. They accused the celebrity of essentially stealing their carefully built brand identity, using her platform and resources to overshadow a smaller business. The accusations hit particularly hard because they played into existing narratives about Meghan's relationship with smaller businesses and ethical entrepreneurship. Here was a small, independently owned company claiming that the self-proclaimed champion of ethical business practices was essentially bulldozing their brand identity. The fashion brand story resonated with audiences who were already skeptical of celebrity business ventures. Social media filled with support for the small business and criticism of Meghan's apparent pattern of taking shortcuts instead of doing the groundwork. The David versus Goliath narrative was back, and once again, Meghan was cast as the corporate bully. The American Riviera Orchard to As Ever disaster exposed something deeper than just poor trademark research or bad timing. It revealed a fundamental misunderstanding of how real businesses are built and sustained. Throughout her post-royal career, Meghan had relied on a strategy of borrowed credibility. Netflix deals based on royal connections, speaking engagements trading on her platform, partnerships that leveraged her celebrity status rather than her business acumen. This approach had worked for personal branding and media ventures, but actual product businesses require different skills. Real entrepreneurship involves unglamorous groundwork, market research, legal due diligence, competitive analysis, operational planning. It requires understanding your industry, respecting existing players, and building genuine value rather than just leveraging fame. The trademark disasters suggested that Team Meghan had skipped these fundamentals in favor of the exciting parts like branding and marketing. The pattern was telling. From the initial trademark application that ignored existing competitors, to the rebrand that trampled on a small business, to the staff exodus when reality set in, every step revealed the same problem. This was celebrity cosplaying as entrepreneurship, not the real thing. Industry experts who had initially been diplomatic about the venture started speaking more openly about its flaws. Business schools began using the case as an example of how not to launch a brand. The project that was supposed to establish Meghan's business credentials had become a masterclass in entrepreneurial failure, but perhaps the most damaging revelation was how the disasters were handled. The silence, the staff turnover, the abandoned marketing campaigns all suggested a team that had never developed contingency plans because they had never seriously considered the possibility of failure. Real entrepreneurs know that setbacks are inevitable and plan accordingly. Celebrity entrepreneurs, apparently, do not. The American Riviera orchard debacle wasn't just a business failure. It was a credibility collapse, and in the attention economy where Meghan had built her post-royal career, credibility is the only currency that really matters. Once that's gone, no amount of rebranding can bring it back.